Hey folks, Richard Tubb here. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tubb Talk. I'm really excited about today's episode. It's a topic that I am very, very passionate about, as you will see as we start to talk today. But I'm joined today by Brad Munday and Jason Kemsley of Uptime Solutions. How you doing, boys?
Hello.
Doing well.
Thank you very much for having us.
My pleasure. Brad, I'll start with you. Where are you joining us from today? Obviously, as we record this, we're in the latter stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're all, I guess, at home still at the moment.
So I'm in the office.
Cool.
So we've started to bring a few of the team back to the office now. So obviously keeping social distance and wiping down every surface you can find on regular occasions. But we're in Three Bridges, so that's where I'm from today.
Excellent. Jason, where are you joining us from?
I am calling you from the Sunshine Coast of Eastbourne, right on the south, which the name is probably slightly misleading, but we'll get to that in another conversation. Sat in the home office, which has the seat has been worn out in over the past 3 months, but no, it's nice. I've got a nice view of the fields and the downs out my window. So,
that sounds lovely. So, I know this has been a bit of a boom period for both of you with the business at the moment. So, the pandemic has restricted what a lot of MSPs can do, but MSPs have been heavily in demand and they've needed help, they've needed support. And so somebody like Uptime Solutions is there to provide that support. But Brad, if I can turn to you, how would you describe what Uptime do and how would you describe the business for people who have not heard of you before?
Okay. So Uptime Solutions provides assistance in terms of Helpdesk, NOC and SOC. They're the three areas that we play in, if you like. The business very much comes from that customer-centric focus. So I'm a tech, that's my background. So everything we do comes from still very much that how do we deliver tech in the best possible way on behalf of our MSPs, more so than it does from the business side of things. I think that's where we started from.
And so some of the acronyms, we're very fond of acronyms in the IT industry. So for people who are unfamiliar with NOC, SOC, explain to us what those mean. Okay,
so let's start with NOC then. Network Operations Center is what the acronym stands for. So effectively, we're looking after the back office, the non-customer facing things with the NOC offering. So we might be responding to RMM alerts. There'll be proactive work that we're doing just to make sure that network and the infrastructure that you look after on behalf of your customers is up and operational, and trying to hit those things before they become customer affecting.
Yeah, Jason, what is a SOC?
Sure, let's carry on with the acronym.
And it's not to do with what's on the bottom of my feet.
No, which I don't have, but let's ignore that. SOC is Security Operations Center. So same sort of premise is taking away that headache is the idea. So with a SOC, you may use a accumulation of tools or a particular set of tooling, and the idea is to provide an all-encompassing security offering that means the MSP's end customer does not have to worry, but also the MSP doesn't have to worry about responding to those alerts, whether it's 3 a.m. in the morning or 8 a.m. in the morning. It doesn't matter on the time.
Yeah. So, Jason, I'm going to turn to you on this. So lots of MSPs that I speak to are vaguely aware of NOC, SOC, outsourced helpdesk and things like that. Have not taken the plunge for a number of reasons, perhaps we will cover. What type of MSPs do you find yourself working with in Uptime? Is there a type of MSP?
I think the beauty of the industry at the moment is there's so many different types that obviously we get approached by. Certainly we see the ones that are doing the most or the best at the moment are the ones that are really focusing on the value add pieces and not trying to do a bit of everything. So maybe an MSP that delivers the VCIO and the account management and allows that day-to-day business as usual to be handled by someone like ourselves, gives them a much clearer trail of thought, and they only have to focus necessarily on one piece day to day. But the beauty of the industry right now actually is we get to speak to everyone and anyone. And I think that really then starts to test how flexible you are and how agile you are as a business, which obviously in this current period is absolutely paramount, and is possibly why we've had such great success so far this year, even with COVID. It's allowed us to show that we are quite agile in where we can work and who we can work with. But at the moment, definitely the value add ones that are focusing on those tasks to demonstrate value, they're the ones that are really, really thriving at the moment.
Yeah. And Brad, if I turn to you, we said, I was asking you where we're calling from today, and astute listeners will be like, oh, that's a couple of British accents that we've got there, when a lot of the companies that I speak to in this area tend to be US based. So talk us through what Uptime Solutions look like in practicality. Where is your team based? And if anybody was working with you, what experience could they expect?
Okay. The team is or has been predominantly based in the UK. For many years, we were UK only, and still during business hours remain UK only. It's a big focus of the business. We're primarily, our target audience has been UK based MSPs, and it made sense to keep our teams on the ground where those MSPs are. So we have a large portion of our team here in Three Bridges, so that we can. The collaboration that comes with being together, I think, is something that's always worked very well with us. Obviously, had to change throughout the pandemic, and the team have adapted to that very, very well. But we do have engineers up and down the country. So one of our USPs, if you will, is that for our UK-based MSPs, we can deliver on-site services as well as part of our help desk and project offerings as well. We can deliver that because we're based up and down the country. For our overnight, so from about 7 p.m. in the evening, changes depending on daylight savings, but from 7 till 7, that's actually delivered from New Zealand. Next question to preempt that is probably why New Zealand? Everyone asks why New Zealand, because it's literally on the other side of the world. So we found that in an industry that has such low unemployment level, finding good techs to work overnight in the UK is such a difficult task. You don't need to work antisocial hours in our industry if you're any good at what you do. So we looked for somewhere where people were meant to be awake, and New Zealand was the answer to that. They're obviously it's sunny there when it's dark over here. So and they surprisingly have a good tech talent pool for a country of only 5 million. The tech talent pool has not been a problem for us. So that works really, really, really well in the two locations.
Yeah. So talk me through, Jason, what's your role within the business?
So up until the start or the end of last year, definitely it was a bit of a hybrid. We're in the very fortunate position where we've seen wonderful growth and started to work with lots of great MSPs. So now I'm starting to focus purely on the sales, the account management piece. And the way I actually like to talk about it is how we interact with our partners and how we do make this truly a bi-directional partnership. A big passion of mine, going way back, but more specifically now, is I don't think you have to sacrifice your partner level, regardless of what you do in the industry. Whether you work on low margins, high margins, it doesn't matter. They are choosing to work with you. And so from an account management perspective, let's deliver the absolute best because we want them to be partners for a long, long time. Everything we do is with the long term in mind. So a lot of what I'm doing now is trying to obviously build out our partner reach and the people we get to work with. But more importantly, delivering value to the ones we've got, because there is so much more we can do, whether that's automation, whether that's AI, whether that's security. No matter what it is, there's so much more to be done in this industry. So I'm really focusing on those value add items as well as the new and inquisitive partners that contact us. Yeah.
So let me put you on the spot a little bit here. For MSPs who have never considered NOC, SOC, outsourced help desk, anything like that, what could they expect if they were working with Uptime? And I mean, in practical solutions, that's it? Do they just hand it to you and say, great, just look after everything, give us a shout if there's any problems? What does it look like, Jason, when you bring a new MSP client on board?
So the beauty of what we do is we focus on obviously the three areas mentioned, and we purely focus on those three areas. So the sort of finding in customers, none of that we necessarily need to get involved in. So we get to focus on delivering something really, really well so that you don't have to. So whether that is maturity of processes, whether that is implementation of ISO certifications, whatever that is, by working with someone like ourselves, you tend to find you gather a much more mature, established, and more capable help desk, NOC, SOC, whatever it is it may be, than you could typically deliver in-house. So taking the out of hours that you mentioned as an example, for an MSP anywhere in the world to spin up an office the other side of the globe, it's an incredibly expensive move to make. So we've kind of made that move for you. We've incurred that overhead so that MSPs don't have to. So you could offer something like out of hours for a relatively low fee without needing to make that big plunge and that big investment. So really trying to remove the day-to-day activities, regardless of what one of the three options it is. With something like SOC, obviously security is so prominent, specifically since COVID started and remote working has been established more and more. Why not remove that one headache so that the other 5 bits you do, you can put another 20% worth of time into them. Trying to become good at a few things rather than okay at a lot is definitely where we come in. Obviously, we see outsourcing huge in the manufacturing sectors and other industries that are quite mature around the world. Same concept. Let us deliver the one bit we do really, really well, so you don't have to worry about it, and then you focus on the bits that you do really, really well on a day-to-day.
Got it. And I love that philosophy. So Brad, I'll turn to you. I used to run a managed service provider business. And from a very technical perspective. So I hope you take it as a compliment when I say I'm speaking as one geek to another.
Of course.
To Jason's point, what I realized really early on was that I, as an MSP owner, needed to focus on the stuff that I was good at and let other people get on with, outsource and delegate to other people who are at the stuff that they were really good at. What was your journey to Uptime Solutions like? Where did the business idea come from, and, how did it expand?
So the idea about being a white labeled provider for other MSPs was very organic. So I worked in an MSP myself as a tech, delivering projects and help desk and anything and everything. I was the pre-sales guy. I was everything. So whilst that was a busy time, that did give me the ability to get an experience of all the different areas of technical delivery, and learning from different people, learning how to do them well and how not to. And it was actually a management change in the MSP that I was working in at the time that meant that service delivery levels outside of my control were dropping off in the MSP that I was in. And so I did the very typical thing. I know a lot of MSPs start in this manner. I went, I think I can deliver a better delivery of service here. And so I went out and founded Uptime Solutions. We actually founded as an MSP. So this was back in 2009. For the first 3 years of our existence, we were a very traditional MSP, tech-led MSP, trying to sell his wares. And what we'd actually done over those 3 years, picked up more telco companies and more MSPs as customers. And so when we looked at things, we were like, why are these are our best customers? Why are they not using us more? And the answer to that was the industry is, you can't have your cake and eat it, I guess is what I'm getting at. You can't be a channel provider and go direct. And so we learned that very early on, and we decided to channel through channel partners, really grow that side of the business and move that direct business back into our existing channel. So they were obviously grateful for being spoon-fed some opportunities there. So and that was Uptime Solutions, if you like, sort of born a second time. So we're sort of 2011, 2012 that move happened, and we've been channel focused, channel only ever since. Started off as help desk, and then we've added NOC and SOC as time has gone on.
Yeah, Jason, let's talk about the help desk. So we've talked a little bit about NOC, that is behind the scenes. We've talked about SOC, that is security, and we'll delve into those a little bit more. But often I speak to MSPs and they say, we're getting interrupted by telephone calls, or we haven't got the resources, or there's spikes in demands, and, it causes all sorts of chaos for us. So outsourced help desk, what does that look like in practicality, and what type of MSPs have you had success with outsourced help desk services?
Sure. So I think to talk about that, I have to quickly talk about how we structure the help desk, because I like to think that, coming from the tech background that obviously Brad has, we sort of came at it from a tech first approach and doing tech really well. So the business from a help desk perspective is split out into pods. Pods, I guess, is a commonly used term, but for those that don't know, it's essentially a group of engineers or a team of engineers. And for us, that can be anywhere up to 6 techs. MSPs are, when they start or decide to start working with us, they are aligned to a pod that best suits the technology stack that they use, or the technology stack their customers are using. So we'll align them to those 6 guys. And what we're able to do with that is start to give them pictures, names, whatever it is they want to make it a personable service. But typically, that 6 guys are looking after any sort of range of end user. It could be 5, it could be 500 if you like. But the main point being, you don't lose the personable nature, of course, regardless of the size you get to. An MSP could engage with us in usually one of 2 ways, and one of them, being the unlimited, is your typical managed service per device, per user cost. So I've got 10 users. I want to take a 10 times user cost. And for that, you look after everything tech for me. And I just focus on the account management piece. Maybe you do a bit of ECIO in there, or some sort of value add on top. Or the other route, which we're seeing become increasingly popular, certainly at the moment, with COVID in mind, is the ticket block or the instance bundle. So what that allows you to do as an MSP is to have an overflow opportunity, right, or have, I know we're obviously recording this at the latter end of lockdown. At the start of lockdown, I'm sure you were familiar, Richard, but everyone's tickets skyrocketed for 2-3 weeks. And for many, it was, let's batten down the hatches and work silly hours to make sure we can deliver. For the MSPs that we worked with that had the ticket blocks, they were fortunate enough that they had that overflow, and it became mine and Brad's problem to make sure we were getting through the tickets. So it depends on the route the MSP takes, but the 2 models are essentially an overflow or an instance base that you can decide when to pass it to us, or an unlimited, remove the headache entirely and get out on the golf course 5 days a week.
I like it. So you're a salesperson, Jason. You've got sales blood flowing through your veins here. So I'm
not going to admit that ever.
Let me throw an objection at you that I know perhaps somebody listening to this, an IT consultant or an MSP owner, and they're saying, this sounds good. This sounds like the solution to many of the problems that I'm having. But, Jason, my client would never accept it. So what do you say to MSPs who are saying, they're making this assumption that clients wouldn't accept a different voice at the end of the telephone when they've got used to their local team?
So because of your comment, now I'm trying to take my sales hat off. I'm biased. I'm if you cut me in the middle, I'm uptime and I always will be. But I get people ask me this all the time, maybe I'm a one-man band and they know me, they trust me, and they're not going to trust anyone else. I think proof's in the pudding. We offer 30-day contracts to allow you to put it in, take it out if they don't like it. Put us in for 30 days alongside you. And when I show them just how good our techs are, which I'm extremely confident of, we won't need to have that discussion again, because you would have seen that actually all the user cares about is how quickly is my issue going to be addressed. It's a weird world we live in that perception does lay on they just want to speak to that person. the truth is they just want to get on with their work. I expect, if it's anything like myself and, you know, my old career, even though I'm still a young man in this industry, is I just want whatever I've got an issue with to be fixed so that I can get on with it. And then I don't have someone else asking me, why is that not done yet?
Agreed. Absolutely. Good answer. And I put you on the spot a bit there, mate. So
no, that's okay.
Hey, Brad, when I mentioned I'm a fellow geek, when I used to run my MSP business, and of course, over time, I grew as a business owner, I realized being a good technician wasn't enough. But we actually, and I'm going back sort of 10, 15 years now, we were one of the first UK-based MSPs that outsourced. We used a company called Zenith Infotech, who are no longer around, but we outsourced our NOC services to them. And we actually reached a point, Brad, where we trusted the engineers so much there that if we had a really meaty technical problem, we could have got free support from, say, somebody like Microsoft, but we would prefer to push the tickets to our engineers, to our outsourced engineers, just because they did such a good job. So I guess, Brad, my question is, from your perspective, how do you keep that quality of technical support really high so that people would prefer to push the tickets to you, rather than go to, say, a vendor support team?
We keep the technical delivery high, mostly due to onboarding. I think onboarding is key. It's very easy to bring techs on board. There are plenty of people out there that suffer from the recruiting problem that MSPs suffer from, and we've worked very hard on that onboarding process. So, with the first month of an engineer being with Uptime, they go nowhere near a live ticket, a live customer, a live anything.
Wow.
I don't want to give away the secret sauce, as it were. But that's how we're driving that high tech quality, is by bringing on the right engineers, and avoiding the ones that aren't such quite high quality. So we have a month beyond the recruitment process, I guess, to make sure that they're the right fit. Moving into the MSP space is quite difficult, especially if you're coming from corporate. As a technician, that change of pace can mean that a very good technician just can't keep up with the pace and the context switching that we have as MSPs. And I think that's it's not the sole reason, but it's largely the reason that we are able to keep tech quality so high, is just by sorting out that onboarding process. So that by the time your end users are dealing with our techs, they know the systems inside out, and we also work very closely on, do you have a personality? That's the number one thing that I look for in the recruitment process, and the team look for, is, can you get on the phone and have some chat? Now, that's more surrounding the help desk side of things. As NOC, the only people you're speaking to is the MSP, but for me, it's just as important that you're building that relationship with the MSP. And beyond that, making sure that they have troubleshooting ability is what I call it. It's that being naturally inquisitive, I think, in terms of how things work, not just tech, but how things in general. And then you can teach tech on top of that. But those two core qualities mean that, we've got some good guys here that MSPs enjoy working with.
That absolutely makes sense. And what you said, a couple of things to pick up there. My background was corporate IT, and I see so many MSPs who have perhaps got, a recently made redundant corporate engineer, and they say, hey, this guy is highly skilled, he's going to do great. And he jumps into the MSP world and absolutely freaks out because rather than looking after one client, there's multiple clients there. So I totally get that. But also, it's hugely impressive what you were saying. I know you mentioned the secret sauce a little bit, but really bedding those engineers in and getting them used to the team, to maintain that level of quality. That's really cool. Jason, if I can turn to you. So Brad's talked a little bit about problems that MSPs have, not just Uptime, but MSPs have recruiting staff. So if I can turn to you, a question that I know is going to be on a lot of people's mind is, okay, this sounds great. What about the cost? And specifically, is this comparable to going and recruiting an engineer? Am I going to pay the similar sort of money? Or should I be looking at doing a hybrid model? How do you answer those questions for people who are perhaps looking to recruit engineers?
So if it's okay, I'm going to answer it in a slightly different way, which is it all sounds, it's one of those age-old, sounds too good to be true, I suspect, if any MSP was listening. And that's typically, the type of conversations that we tend to have as a team. So let me reassure people, we have issues, and our issues are we are not in front of the amount of MSPs that we could be in front of, because we're so good at tech that historically myself and Brad aren't too good at sales. So there's a complementing service there is the goal, and our issues are just not technical issues, which is the beauty of it and why it works so well. For MSPs that are thinking or looking, absolutely we're comparable is the first piece. The beauty of people that may be hearing about us for the first time is we've already been there and done that for the last 9-10 years. We did not, if you like, explode on the scene. We took quite a long time to build up maturity in processes and understanding the market before we ever actually started to really make any proactive sales efforts. So the beauty is, yes, you may be hearing us for the first time, but we've actually been around for quite a long time, maybe even longer than the MSP phrase itself, who knows? So yes, we are comparable. There's lots of great outsourcing companies out there, and we're absolutely comparable and exactly where you expect us to fit. We are what I would class a slightly premium service, but maybe not necessarily with the price tag that comes with it. It all comes down to, and it's an age-old sales item, but it all comes down to what we can do together. And for 30-day contracts, we can't be as competitive as say a 12-month contract. And it's the normal sort of commercial discussions. But the joy is that we're built to be agile and flexible. So we can look at you and your estate and what you want to move, and then start to work that out from there. It's not a price book. This is the price. Take it or leave it scenario. Is let's have a discussion and work out why that doesn't work, to see if we can help you. The beauty of the business is we get to see so many wonderful MSPs and what they're doing that does work, what it doesn't work. So if we can help you just to drive more value so you can increase that price, great. But I think the most important thing is to have a conversation and not just have a price book that you swing from each day.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And you say you're not a sales machine, the both of you, but I think you're doing an incredible job of certainly selling to me and to listeners today, because you're very personable. You're clearly very, very focused on making sure that people come on board and join you in the right way, not just clients, but staff and everything else as well. So keep doing what you're doing at the moment, because I think that quality sort of shines through. Brad, if I can turn to you, one of the biggest challenges that I see with MSPs who are outsourcing any type of service is that they want, for want of a better way of putting it, they abdicate responsibility for this. So they literally just go, yeah, there you go. We've now got an outsourcing partner on board for NOC, SOC, Helpdesk, whatever. Just get on with it. And I see things go wrong, things go badly wrong at that point. How do you help your MSP partners understand that you're a part of their team effectively, that you're a partner to work with rather than just a supply service to pick up and drop down?
A lot of that comes from the onboarding. So our onboarding process is a month long. And a lot of that process is working out how we work together. Every MSP wants something slightly different. And we've developed ways to fit that into a standardized process. So, but keeping some of those things that they want to be done in their way. Every MSP has built their own unique style, and that's what their customers have come to enjoy. In terms of handing off to us and sort of passing responsibility, I think that's where we might differ. Well, I know that's where we differ to some of our competition, because they are much larger organizations. Everything, it hits a wider team. It's got to be very standard. Whereas we're able to take on a little bit more of that responsibility because of the pod model. So you genuinely get to know your pod. and the pod get to know you, your customers, their networks. Every network has its quirks, and the pods get to know that, and that allows us to take on more responsibility. And I address that in terms of the number of tickets that we pass back. So we pass back very few tickets. The tickets that go back to our partners when we're looking at unlimited model type scenarios. So they have literally taken the service that allows them to go, you look after those now. The tickets that we're passing back are, hey, this bit of hardware might not be fit for purpose anymore, and stuff like that, where actually it's bordering on being account management.
Yes.
Or it's additional revenue. We work very hard with the teams to identify revenue opportunities, not so that they can discuss that with the end customer, absolutely not, but so that they can go, hey, Mr. Partner, you might want to look at this because this has come up a couple of times recently, and we think there's a revenue opportunity here. And it just allows those partners to not lose, whilst they are able to go, Helpdesk is you now, they still don't lose the connection with the Helpdesk. That's really important to me, is it's got to be that connected service.
Yeah.
And so while we're happy to absolutely take responsibility of the network and the uptime and those tech elements, we need buy-in from the partner from that account management perspective. And I think that's where we gel with the partner, is they've still got to get involved when maybe the end customer's being a little bit unreasonable. We've all experienced that. And that's what the account managers are there to do, to sort of ease that along and get us through those pieces.
Yeah.
So I think that answers that.
That makes absolute sense. I'm getting a real picture here of almost, I'm not going to say a bespoke service, but you really customize what you do to work with the MSPs that you do. From a technology perspective, Brad, there's going to be a lot of MSPs who are listening today, and they've already built up their own solution stack. So they might use, say, Autotask or ConnectWise or Atera, and they've got RMM tools in there as well, and different things. One of the challenges that I've seen about outsourcing in the past is that lots of outsourcing companies almost force the MSP to rip out what they've got and say, right, use our system when you're working with us. What does it look like for you? How much customization can you offer in terms of the different packages that people are using?
So let's look at PSA, and then we'll look at RMM. It's probably the easiest way to do that. So we have built an API middleware to allow us to sync from a range of different PSA tooling. The idea being that as an MSP, you want to keep all the good information that you're reporting from, all of that sort of stuff. You want to keep that in your PSA. Also, going back to what Jason said earlier about the 30-day contracts, we like setting things up so that you don't stay with us because you feel forced to, because it's really difficult to move off. You stay with us because of the service that we're delivering. And so the API middleware allows us to do that. So to get technical, I guess, for a second, it's basically a bi-directional sync. So tickets continue to come into your PSA, sync all the good stuff across to us. So basically everything that we need to be able to work the ticket. Our teams then work in our PSA. So we're an Autotask house. I still say Autotask if you cut me in half. I don't say Datto quite yet, but we're getting there. And our techs will add internal notes, they'll add time, they'll change statuses, priorities, all of that sort of good stuff in our PSA. And then there's a bi-directional sync that goes back to our partners' PSA, whatever flavor that may be. And as I said, our roadmap for that is pretty aggressive at the moment to bolt on new PSAs. There's a few new players that have entered into the market fairly recently that are taking the world by storm. So we're making sure that our developers are keeping on top of those, adding new PSAs into our middleware all the time. So RMM is much easier. As long as you can get the alerts into your PSA, they'll sync across, of course. So that's nice and easy. And we're well versed in a range of RMMs. There tends not to be a license cost for additional agents on the RMM side. So you set your pod up with their individual logins to your RMM, and that's where they do a lot of the NOC work. So a lot of the NOC stuff is coming from the supported range of RMMs that we have. If you find yourself using an RMM that we've not worked with and that sort of stuff, then we can still put our Datto agents on in order to make use of, I guess, the IP that we've created. We spend a lot of time building out PowerShell scripting, et cetera, to make sure that we're addressing alerts. We share a lot of that with the partner base, get that into their RMM to make sure that we're quite consistent in terms of what we do. So if you come online with your RMM, we give that a sanity check as part of the onboarding, just to make sure that you're going to create the right alerts for us and mean that we can deliver the service that we want to be delivering.
Yeah. The question around security, obviously, MSPs are under attack at the moment. MSPs are the gatekeepers to lots of client sites, and so cyber criminals are targeting them. You've got a similar challenge here, haven't you, Brad, in that, if MSPs are the gatekeepers to client sites, you are coming into their business and you've got access to a lot of information. And perhaps some MSPs might be concerned that, their client base or something else might slip across. What do you, to a competitor, what do you do to reassure clients that, you're a part of the team, you treat security with the highest regard? What does that look like?
So from what bits of paper have we got, I guess, ISO 27001 was put in place for that to allow us to demonstrate that we take security very seriously. It's baked into all of our internal processes. We did that because it's very easy to say that you look after security, but it's a completely different thing to go and demonstrate it. And we are, as a business, we look very much like an MSP. As you said, we have techs that are dealing with customers on behalf of other MSPs. So we face a lot of the same challenges. So I think a lot of the mitigation steps that we have will be the same, and we're constantly reviewing that. So be that sending out SMS pushes to make sure that an end user is who they say they are. We're constantly reviewing that and putting that in. We discuss and get feedback from our MSP partners on a regular basis. As with most things security, it's another roadblock for the end user to get whatever they're looking for, be that 2FA, etc. Whilst they're completely necessary, users don't like them. So that feedback from the MSP partner is really important. Is, hey, we've got this new security feature, but if it's just going to be unusable for the end user and the across the partner base, they're not going to be able to use it, then we can't implement it. Quite often we'll look at, can we implement this for the MSPs that want to take it on? So and it just puts the MSP in charge of their own destiny, really. If we've got the ability to send SMS push and you don't want it, then we'll sign the waiver that says you didn't want it. So and it fits some people, it doesn't fit others. But constantly reviewing as you have to with security. Absolutely.
Jason, if I turn to you, when I ran my MSP business, we were cautious when we were outsourcing because we actually thought, we're not ready for this. We haven't got the processes internally. We haven't got the documentation. We're just not mature enough to outsource. What we actually found was, by outsourcing, it forced us to up our level of maturity significantly and become more organized, put the documentation in place, and so on and so forth. The conversations that you're having with the MSPs, do you ever come across MSPs who say that we'd love to take your services, but we wouldn't know where to start, we're just not ready? And how do you address that sort of objection?
So I guess the first thing, not to necessarily pick you up on the previous point, I am a tech. Although I may sound and speak like a sales guy, I think that drives from passion is for myself and Brad, Uptime is everything we pretty much know in our professional careers. The rest is a distant memory. And so pretty much the majority of business is tech first, including myself. And
you heard it here first, folks. I've offended Jason Kemsley live.
No, really have.
Calling him a salesperson.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
I apologise.
But that's really important because even from a sales, I look after sales. I head that piece up. But even from a sales piece, I've got a bit of tech in mind.
Yeah.
And so we can't sell a service if we can't deliver it well and hold the partner's hand on that. So whether that is a SOC and they need to know how it's positioned or how it's best positioned in it, whether it's jumping into a bit of tech and understanding why it's good, all of it comes with tech in mind. And it comes back to that, and I don't want to offend any vendors that exist, but I don't think enough vendors take the partner status seriously enough.
Agreed. Yeah.
Using the word partner is a bold statement, and something myself and Brad have had many drinks over and discussed in the past. For us to use the word partner really does mean a bi-directional relationship. That means not you just pass business, because that doesn't work. We need to give something back and help you and be proactive. So account management is something that we take very seriously, and included in that is building that roadmap with you. What does it look like? What do you want to look like in a year? Where do you want to go so that we can help you? Or it could be pre-sales. If you're working on a contract and it's something that you're looking to bring over to us, let's grab one of our techs and do some pre-sales and have a look at how it best fits, and let us use our knowledge. So the bi-directional piece is sort of at the core of everything we do. It's no good delivering good tech if you can't demonstrate that value, which is one of the biggest things for MSPs in the current scenario is demonstrating that value, so that people don't think I can stop that service, or what would happen if I got rid. So for us, it's that having a conversation, having resources you can call upon. Effectively, I'm saying you don't need to worry about help desk. So I can't then turn my back when you're trying to sell help desk. I need to give you everything you possibly need to ensure that you are positioning it right, you're demonstrating the most value, and you can talk about it really effectively.
Yeah, makes absolute sense. Brad, managing director, what keeps you up at night about running the Uptime business? Where do you want this business to go, and what are the challenges, the hurdles that you want to overcome to make things even better?
So I think the answer to that is it's difficult at the moment. What keeps me up at night at the moment is a 4-week-old baby. So I get a lot of this time. So I'm not sure whether it's keeping me up at night or whether I'm just thinking about it because I'm up at night.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I think broadening our scope in terms of where we deliver service, I think that's what my vision for the business is. More automation, geeky stuff is what I'm going to list here because I'm a tech, right? So automation, I have seen, having conversations with MSPs, as it's certainly something that developers love and are ready to get involved with, but more traditional techs like myself, I come from a storage and virtualization background. It's a new world. Machine learning, AI, whatever you want to call it, is definitely a space that we are pushing quite heavily into. But I think MSPs that are like me, in terms of their beginnings, it's actually a foreign land. So how we utilize machine learning more to deliver a better level of service. Now, certainly for me, machine learning is not a way to drive down costs. That's a byproduct. It should be a way to deliver better customer service. So whether it's on the front end or it's on the back end of things, and we're looking at both at the moment as to how we drive more value to our MSPs. But it's certainly not about less bums on seats and all of that sort of stuff. That's not a driver for us, and I don't think it should be a driver for any MSP, because then it very quickly becomes a race to the bottom.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest one for the moment. Is that where do we go next in terms of scope? The US, we have some presence in the US, but it's not a physical presence at the moment. We just have a few partners over there with our broadening sort of reach in terms of becoming known.
Yeah. So you're working with US MSPs at the moment, are you, on a smaller scale? Yeah,
on a smaller scale, we've got some US partners that have seen us through recent marketing events. APAC. With our New Zealand office is only a year and a half old now. So APAC is a region that we're moving into and are well placed from a time zone perspective to deliver to as well.
Yeah.
Growth and AI.
Yeah, and the AI piece is especially interesting, and I share your view. It's not all about hammering down the costs. It's about doing more, being able to deliver more, which should free the human being's time up to do more interesting stuff and more valuable stuff. Jason, I'll turn to you. We've had conversations offline before. You're a bit of a student of business, a student of the game. Is there any books or influences that you might sort of cite as helping drive you over the past 12, 24 months?
I think we're in an industry that's got wonderful resources, and you just need to do a couple of searches and you'll find the right ones, without necessarily turning this too much. I think you're one of those. What you speak about is so seen as so obvious, but something people aren't doing quite often. So you're definitely someone that I keep an eye on. Mark Copeman is an author of a couple of books and has done some really good stuff that aligns so well with our customer-centric nature. Sort of to answer a question you didn't ask, but to keep it all together, Brad is obviously looking at the scope. I'm thinking, how do we still do that really well, even as we expand, obviously? So books such as Mark Copeman's books are fundamental to...
Desk Habits is
absolutely
fundamental. I think that should be made essential for any new engineer coming on board to an MSP or any type of company like that.
Absolutely. I think there's so many resources that finding the right ones is sometimes difficult, but places like the Tech Tribe, places like the Helpdesk Habits book, they're key things. The one thing I think that we're all guilty of as MSPs, master MSPs, outsourcing, whatever you want to call it, is stepping back and looking at everything through your customer's eyes. What does onboarding look like to them? What does picking up the phone look like to them? I'm really just trying to ensure that everything we do, my goal is to, whether we're 100 partners or 100,000, be able to stand with you at a conference and have a beer and know that we're heading in the right direction together.
Bless. And thank you for the kind words as well. Appreciate it. But yeah, Helpdesk Habits by Mark Copeman, brilliant book to check out. Gents, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been one of the most laid back, easygoing conversations. And I know people listening to this as well will just hear the passion that you've got for it, that you're from an MSP background. I just wish you absolutely the best of luck, because if anybody's going to make it, you are, with your attitudes towards things. So for anybody who does want to reach out to you and continue the conversation, maybe explore whether you're a good fit or not, Jason, what's the best way for people to get in touch? Because you are the salesperson, and I'm going to
you can contact the tech sales department. No, best place is usually pick up the phone. Love to have a chat, because no two MSPs are the same. Uptimesolutions.tech or .co.uk is the best way. Or you can pop us an email, partners@uptimesolutions.tech again, or .co.uk. We'd love to speak to you, even if you want to speak to me personally or one of the team, doesn't matter. We'd like to have a chat with you regardless of what your long-term plan is.
Fantastic. Brad, Jason, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. I know I'm going to put you on notice here, because I know I know my listeners, and I know there's going to be a ton of questions coming out of this. So if you're up for it, I'd like to invite you back. We'll do another episode in the very near future to answer what is bound to be a ton of questions coming out of this one. But for now, today, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Brad, good to see you. Jason, see you. Keep on doing your sales thing.
Thanks very much. Good to see you too.
Cheers, bud. Hey folks, Richard here. Thanks for listening today. I know you've got a ton of options for who you listen to nowadays, so I really appreciate your support. Do you have any feedback on this episode? Ideas for future guests? Tweet me at Tubblog using the hashtag TubTalk. I respond to every tweet and really appreciate your feedback. Hey team, this is Richard again. Just one more thing before you take off, and that is MSP Insights. Now, every Tuesday, I share my thoughts on the business of IT with you, the managed service community. Thousands of managed service providers already subscribe to MSP Insights. It's easy to sign up, easy to cancel. MSP Insights is basically a short email from me every Tuesday without fail, with advice on growing your IT business, plus cool resources I've found, discovered, or started exploring that week. It's kind of like my diary of cool things, and often includes articles or books I've read, tools I've discovered, and events I think you'd be interested in, often sent to me by my friends and Tub Talk podcast guests. So if that sounds fun, a short tiny bite of MSP goodness every Tuesday, and you'd like to try it out, just go to go.tub.co/Tuesday. That's go.tub.co/Tuesday. Drop in your email and you'll get the very next one. Thanks for listening.